Welcome to Fact Finder Investigates. I'm Dylan Doming. Throughout this month, we will continue to answer your questions about the proposed 1% sales tax here in Wichita. One of the big questions we've heard, how did Wichita Forward project that the city can make $850 million over the 7 years if that sales tax does pass? Michael Schwenke and I teamed up to look into how they came up with that number. We actually spoke with the city's finance department to break it down, and what we found is the answer is a bit complicated.
850 million. Where did that projection come from? What does it stem from? Where have the projections been at to reach that level?
Yeah, the city projected that we'd be able to collect based on 1% of variable spending. That would generate roughly $120 million a year. But right now the city projects that based on the average kind of spending of Wichitans and what we currently see in projections with the county tax and the state taxes that are collected for sales tax, that's the projection that Wichita would generate.
The best way to show you how the city got to its $850 million estimate is to look at that current countywide 1% sales tax. We pulled the numbers, and last year the countywide tax generated about $149 million. Over 7 years, with a 3% increase each year, that's about $1.26 billion. This new one, if passed, would be Wichita only. This new tax would exclude sales made in other cities like Derby, Goddard, Hayesville, Mays, or Park City. Wichita makes up about 75% of the county population and is projecting, minus an economic downturn or something unexpected, about $850 million over 7 years. So what if it doesn't work out?
So the city's the one that budgeted kind of that part of that?
Yes.
Okay. If there is a shortfall when it comes to it, is any possible option to extend that sales tax, or like you said, once it expires, that's it, it's over with?
Yeah, once it expires, it expires. And so if it does fall short of the $850 million mark, then the Citizen Oversight Committee alongside a city council will have to make adjustments to investments in the various projects.
Basically, if there is a shortfall, the tax will still end after 7 years. And if that $850 million target is reached early, the tax ends early.
So the ordinance articulates it as an expiring sales tax. And so one of two things have to happen. We either reach $850 million, which we could do early and expire it early, which we did with Intrust Bank Arena. It hit a year and change early, so the sales tax expired. Or if we hit the 7-year mark, which would be in 2033.
Now also this week, the Wichita City Council making some final changes to the 1% sales tax proposal. Council members passed 7 so-called guardrails designed to guide the city on how that money should be spent. But some of these new rules can be a bit confusing. Brock Wilson explains where the money will go and how it will be prioritized.
A few of these guardrails simply put into writing how much money will be spent on each of the 5 sales tax initiatives. $150 million for property tax relief, $225 million for public safety, $250 million for the revitalization of Century 2 and an upgraded and expanded convention center, $150 million for homeless and housing services, including a multi-agency center and shelter, and $75 million for the development of a new downtown performing arts center. Property tax relief would be the first initiative supported. One guardrail says the city collects $20 million in sales tax revenue. Once that happens, there will be a $4 million reduction applied in the fiscal year of 2027. The next priorities would be homeless services and public safety, then the remaining initiatives proportionally after that. Now, as it pertains to a new downtown performing arts center, it's been put into writing that $50 million in private funding would need to be raised first before sales tax revenue is used. Private funding could reach a max of $75 million plus $75 million in public funding. There's also the possibility groceries could be exempt from the sales tax, but in order to make that happen, the city would need to get approval from the state legislature. If that's unsuccessful, the City Council approved annual payments of $55 for low-income families to reduce the burden of sales tax on necessities like groceries. Households would qualify for the payments if they meet eligibility requirements for the Low-Income Energy Assistance Program for the preceding tax year. Property owners that are eligible for the Homestead Refund Program would also be eligible for additional property tax relief.
Okay, so that still seems like a lot to digest. I understand. Don't worry. The city has gathered all of that relevant information and they posted it online. We also have all that information up on our website, kwch.com. And if you are still undecided on this matter, we recently hosted a roundtable about the proposed sales tax. You can watch that full 30-minute discussion right now on your smart TV. Just find the KWCH 12 app on your Roku or other streaming device. You'll find it under the sales tax section. The U.S. Senate's Transportation Committee held a hearing this week to review the NTSB's finding in the deadly mid-air collision that happened last January. The NTSB proposes all aircrafts be equipped with the System to Broadcast Their Location, known as ADS-B. The agency's chair saying that the deaths of the 67 people killed in the crash could have been prevented had the agency's recommendations been adopted years ago.
And we've issued safety recommendations like ADS-B in over and over and over again, aimed at preventing just these kinds of collisions. Recommendations that have been rejected, sidelined, or just plain ignored.
Now, legislation known as the Rotaract bill implements the ADS-B recommendation, and it already passed in the U.S. Senate, but it has now stalled in the House. Homendy says she's been close to seeking obstruction charges against the FAA because it hasn't given requested information. A fact finder alert here after months of frustration. A Wichita family seeking justice as a local roofing company fined nearly $500,000 for repeated violations of the Kansas Consumer Protection Act. The Sedgwick County District Attorney's Office found Tyler Sims and Flint Hills Roofing Company left projects unfinished, failed to pull required permits, and forged estimates to insurance companies. Brady Bowman met with a family who fell victim to the roofing company and hopes others can avoid their experience.
We were minding our business at home and got cold called by a company offering a free estimate. And who doesn't like the word free, right?
That's how it started for Rachel and Ryan Shellhammer. Flint Hills Roofing stopped by their home in 2024, not long after a storm swept through. The Shellhammers agreed to hear the company's offer to repair the roof, and soon the project grew to include new siding and gutters. While the roof was replaced, it wasn't up to code, and other projects fell behind. Weeks turned to months.
This was the front of my house for 4 to 6 months, with part of my old siding still on there but falling off, a bunch of it open and exposed, and then we had lead exposed up on the flashing and inside of the porch for months. I mean, it wasn't just like a day or something.
Then in March 2025, the Shellhammers received an invoice from their insurance company stating the work had been finished with a balance due of nearly $28,000. That led to a complaint filed with the Better Business Bureau.
Consumer predators are very sneaky. They know what they're doing. They know how to get that money, how to make it stretch even further. And then this is not going to be the first time. It's not going to be the last time that some sort of incident like this happens.
When Keeter Roofing heard the Shellhammer story, they finished the work for free.
We were lucky that someone came in and saved the day, but how many other families, there's 3 on that judgment paper, but there's over 6 that contacted me that still, like, the DA doesn't even know their names. And they didn't come forward, and they have nothing to go. They're living in a little war zone is what I called it originally. I want justice for them.
The Shellhammers consider themselves to be one of the luckier victims in this case, and because of the generosity that led to the work being finished, the judgment will not award any damages to them. However, as first-time homeowners, they tell me it's an experience they hope they never have to go through again, and hope that no other first-time homeowners ever have to go through again. In East Wichita, Brady Bowman, 12 News.
Now, we did talk to Sims, who says he would admit guilt if he felt like he did something wrong. He said some customers owe him money and that his reputation of performing successful roofing jobs around town should carry more weight. Sims and his company are banned from doing business in Kansas until all restitution and $470,000 in penalties are paid. So to come, family members asking for the full body camera video to be released after the loved one was shot and killed during an officer-involved shooting after a disturbance. Family and community members protesting this week asking for the release of body camera footage after a Wichita officer shot and killed 27-year-old DeAndre Hill. Hill was killed January 20th after officers responded to a disturbance call made by one of Hill's neighbors. Only a short clip of the footage was released during that initial investigation. It shows Hill coming out of his unit with a gun. The family, though, wants to see that footage in its entirety. The case is currently with the Sedgwick County District Attorney's Office for review.
Just release the body cam footage.
We're looking for accountability and transparency.
We want to see the body cams.
The family says they have reached out to the district attorney's office and are awaiting a response. A Salina man speaking out after learning no criminal charges will be sought in a motorcycle accident that killed his brother. The family of Riley Ferris says the decision highlights what they believe to be a larger issue with offenders driving with a suspended license. Gabriela Hernandez spoke with the family and shares more.
Anger, frustration, and a lot of questions pouring out onto social media after Colton Ferris learned the driver involved in his brother's fatal crash will not face criminal charges related to his death.
I tried to call him and his phone went straight to voicemail, and I finally went over to his house and opened the garage up, and the bike was gone. And you know, I kind of had a feeling, and then it became a reality. He was gone.
Kansas court records show the woman involved in the crash has more than 40 previous traffic violations. At the time of the crash, she was driving with a suspended license and no proof of insurance. When asked about the case, Saline County Attorney John Reynolds told 12 News he's limited to what can be discussed because misdemeanor charges are still pending. But the only evidence his office was able to substantiate was a traffic violation for following too closely. But Colton believes this case highlights a lack of accountability for repeat offenders.
I want everybody to get fired up and anxious to work together with the county, with the state, so we can make a safer community for not just my family, but all Kansans.
In Saline County, Gabriela Hernandez, 12 News.
Now, Colton has started a Facebook group with other families and community members sharing their stories and possible resources. That can be found on our website, kwch.com, and our 12 News app. And if you have a story, we do want to hear from you. You can call us or email our investigators at the address and the number you see there on your screen. We'll look into any of your issues for the next Fact Finder Investigates.